looking at you kids.
Me too.
I wish I knew how to quit eating bugs.
This seems so fun.
There's no place like home.
I'm gonna make him an offer down with you.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Gone with the Win. We're here to talk about our final Oscar predictions because it's happening tomorrow and who knows what's going to happen. But Dan, how are you feeling?
I'll tell you what, Malcolm, I'm not feeling real lucky, but I figure, you know what? If I wore my green hat and my green shirt, it might make me feel a little bit luckier, and I might actually get a little bit luckier in my predictions. So that's what I chose to do today. I've been doing decent, but I haven't been perfect. So I'm looking to go perfect.
Yep. And also, as you can see below me, we've got a special guest today. We've got Trevor here. Trevor, for the people that may not follow you, let people know who you are and how are you feeling.
I'm not great. I just watched Tell It Like a Woman, so we are there. I have seen all 54 nominees now, so that's feeling good about that. Not necessarily about the movie I just watched, but yeah, feeling overall fine about Oscars predictions. I'm feeling weirdly assured in things that I probably shouldn't, but like I'm just letting myself settle into the confidence because I can't keep on second guessing myself. And I'm also just enjoying the races. Like, when was the last time we had 3 acting races up in the air? Like, this is it's fun. So I'm just kind of taking in the fun of the moment. Not to let myself get too stressed. So
yeah, and it's one of those things like especially over the last few years where I've been doing this, like I've sort of gotten really into sort of looking very analytically at the Oscars, and there's like this is what's looking like at the moment. But if that we're just going to go through the Oscars, and they have announced a bunch of the presenters. I don't have them all off by heart, but I think Donnie Yen's down there for not presenting at some stage. But yeah, but if that we're going to start from best live action short, that's the bottom of what Gold Derby has. So, Trevor, what do you have for best live action short?
okay, so live action short. The short film categories are always rough, but as of now, I'm between two. I'm between An Irish Goodbye and Le Pupille. I'm leaning towards An Irish Goodbye just because I think it has the very important factor of being an English language short. And they like to go with the English language shorts more often than not. And yes, Le Pupille has the Alfonso Cuarón name attached, and it could have potentially been more widely seen because of the Disney Plus release. But An Irish Goodbye also just feels a bit more broadly appealing, I guess. And it's also shorter, which helps it a lot. So,
but Dan, what do you have live action short?
Yeah, typically this category goes to an English language film, and La Pupille, even though it's Alfonso Cuarón and Disney attached to it, it is in French and it's subtitled. So that might turn some voters off, and I think it is like Trevor said, it's a little long. So, God, I've been bantying this back and forth. I'm wearing the green. I'm going to go with The Irish Goodbye.
Yeah, I've been pretty much the same. Yeah, like I've been tossing up between Le Pupille and An Irish Goodbye myself. I'm kind of leaning towards the Alfonso Cuarón aspect of this and going Le Pupille, but shorts has always been a case of I'm going to just take a random guess and hope for the best because I don't have they don't screen the shorts over here in New Zealand, so I don't have a way to watch them. And I mean, I could find them too, but I'm too lazy sometimes. But moving on to documentary short, Dan, what do you have for documentary short?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been on this train for a while, and I noticed a Gold Derby. It went from fourth to second, and I know there's a controversy involved in it. But Malala, who has been is a big proponent of this documentary, is behind it, and she's been going around talking to people and trying to share the story of what this is all about. So I'm going to go with Enemy at the Gate.
It's just to correct you, it's Stranger at the Gate, but yeah.
Stranger at the Gate. My bad. Stranger at the Gate. I don't have it right in front of me. I have it on my phone. I'm like, I'm just gonna say it instead of trying to read something.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I mean, for documentary short, I'm settling on The Elephant Whisperers myself. Because I think it's the big Netflix one. I'm not.
It is
100% sure.
They have
yeah,
that and Martha Mitchell is what Netflix
yeah.
has. Yeah.
So, I think Netflix is going to sort of win anything here this year. It's going to be in documentary short because I don't think they have much of a chance anywhere else.
I mean,
But
international.
Trevor, yeah, but Trevor, what do you have for documentary short?
I'm also unfortunately going with Stranger at the Gate, and like, listen, there always seems to be one short that wins that everybody hates. I really personally dislike this film, and it seems to be the film Twitter villain. I mean, you look at like past years with things like Skin or Two Distant Strangers, things like that. It feels very much in the same vein as those, as far as just movies that like Letterboxd film Twitter really hate, and it really doesn't work for them. And then I also want to bring something up. I don't believe that on the ballots they list the producers of these films, which I think could potentially like hurt the Cuarón narrative. I think the only time where they put the names, like for none of the tech categories or anything like that, they don't put the names of the people. It's just the actors that are on the ballot. So you would actually you would have to actively know about it, which is where I think you see sometimes like last year Riz Ahmed was like very publicly alongside his film. I don't know how publicly and out and like campaigning Cuarón is. So that's another interesting factor with that. But yeah, I'm going Stranger at the Gate here, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point to make actually. But moving on to animated short, as much as I'd love the winner to be My Year of Dicks, just to hear that, I think it's going to go for the one that's probably the most widely accessible animated short in this list, and that's The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. I just think that's got sort of everything it needs. It's produced it's an Apple TV short. It's just probably the one that most people would know. But yeah, Trevor, what do you say about animated short?
So here I'm going with An Ostrich Told Me the World Was Fake, and I think I believe it. And why is because in this category specifically, they like to go for the shorter shorts. There hasn't been a winner in like 20 years over the length of 16 minutes. In both My Year of Dicks and Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse exceed that. Ostrich, it's a solid like 10 minutes. It has a flashy title. I'm of the mind that a lot of people don't actually watch the shorts and they just vote for the title that's the most appealing. And those two that stick out are My Year of Dicks and Ostrich Told Me the World Was Fake, and I think I believe it. And the other thing is I look at like something like last year, right? You had the longer 30-minute, like widely seen on the streaming service Netflix, children animated film, Robin, and it ended up losing to a more experimental adult type animation film that was shorter, only like 8 or 9 minutes. So I feel kind of like we could be trending down a similar path and see something like Ostrich or even something like Ice Merchants. But I'm leaning towards An Ostrich Told Me the World Was Fake right now.
And then we're leaning for animated short.
I agree with Trevor on his assessments, but I'm actually going to disagree with him. I think the one that's got the big voices attached to it, like Idris Elba and people like that, I think, and it's Apple TV Plus, and it's really beautiful, and I think it has some really good messages in it, and I think that one's the one that everybody's talking about, and I think it's out front, and people are talking, and I think that one's going with The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. I think that one's going to be the one that wins.
It can definitely happen. I definitely acknowledge that I'm predicting an upset here. I mean, Apple's throwing a ridiculous amount of money behind it. They're campaigning it everywhere. I don't know. I don't feel like that fits in with the most recent group of animated short winners. But
It goes by pretty quick. It's long, but it doesn't seem like it takes that long to go by. I mean, you can watch it quick.
I don't know. I feel like there is a lot of distaste for it. I personally wasn't a fan of it, and I feel like there is, at least from what I've been seeing, a lot of dislike for the film. But there could also be like a lot of love for it because they don't go off of preferential ballot, I believe, here. So just off number one votes, it'll be interesting. I think it's the most.
Yeah. I mean, it is because I totally respect the whole trend way of looking at this. It's one of the, but one thing Trevor did say that stuck out to me is like, I'm almost convinced that people voting don't always watch the shorts either. So which is, and that's partly why I think they're going to go for the one that is well known, that has been talked about a lot.
Yep, that's
so yeah,
and it won a BAFTA too.
But moving on to the next category, and I'm pretty sure this might be a pretty quick one, so I think we'll put most of agreement here. But we're going to best international film. But Trevor, what do you have winning best international film?
I mean, do we even need to talk about it? It's All Quiet on the Western Front. It's the best fiction nominee. It got 9 nominations. Like, come on.
Yeah. Dan, are you of agreement?
Yeah, absolutely. When you have the best foreign language film nominee in the best picture race, it always ends up winning as the consolation prize, best international film or best foreign language film. And so that's why All Quiet on the Western Front will win this.
Yep.
Yeah. No. I'm of agreement that it's the same. Like, one of these days I'll get around to actually sitting down and watching it. I just haven't had the time to actually watch it, but yeah, it's definitely All Quiet. Like, this is the one. If India has submitted Triple R and it got in, then it would have been a really interesting race, but they didn't. And
Decision to Leave got in here, which was ridiculous. Why that didn't get in?
Even still, even if both RR and Decision to Leave got in, it would still be All Quiet easily because it's not like either of them were getting Best Picture nominations. So
that's true.
But who says All Quiet would have gotten a Best Picture nomination had they had more of an inclination for RRR or Decision to Leave?
Well, so just to go to that point, I think if they really liked Triple R and Decision to Leave, it would have got a Best Picture nomination, like regardless on if it got into international feature.
Yeah, I could maybe see that argument for RRR since it wasn't even submitted, but like with Decision to Leave, I think the Academy just obviously didn't really love the movie that much if it didn't even get into international. Like RRR, I can maybe see if it got the submission from India, maybe there would have been more campaigning, but like just in general, the major ceremonies didn't really take to it that much. Like nothing with voting crossover really went for it in any meaningful capacity. I mean, but it didn't get a single BAFTA nom either, which like you could say, oh, well, because British and whatever, but like still, it didn't get a single BAFTA nomination. That's still a large voting pool. It's still like 7,000 people. The Academy's 10,000 people. So I just really think that it was only really beloved by like the critics, but it didn't really seep its way into the industry as much as maybe we thought.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like I've definitely seen a lot of people talk about it. I personally wasn't a big fan of Triple R myself. It just didn't work for me. But I mean, I get that it was well made in that, but it's still one of those ones like even though I didn't care for it, I was still surprised it didn't get in. But like as you said, like the Academy just clearly didn't like it. But either didn't like it or just didn't care for it as much as everyone else. But
see it.
Yeah,
is the other thing.
But but moving on to best documentary feature, Dan, what do you have for documentary feature?
This has been kind of one of those ones, Malcolm, that I've been getting a headache over because the films that I love all of these. I love Fire of Love. I love Navalny, and I love all the Beauty and the Bloodshed. but I just have been really bantying this back and forth with Navalny winning the BAFTA. That kind of put Navalny in the front, but like All the Beauty and the Bloodshed to me is the best documentary and it's the best overall film. But there's so much love for Fire of Love. It's a National Geographic documentary. I saw it so long ago. I've seen all these, and it's so hard. And I really want to go with Navalny here because I don't want to miss this category. But I just can't help but I'm going to go with the film that I love the most and the one to me that means the most, being that it's about OxyContin and killing people and the Sacklers and that sort of stuff. And that's why I'm going to go with All the Beauty and the Bloodshed.
God, I hope you're right. Yeah.
Like for me, like I haven't seen any of these documentaries myself, so I've got no judgment on them quality wise at all. But based on what I've been seeing in this race, I'm leaning towards Navalny here because it was nominated for DGA for directorial work in documentaries, and then did also win the PGA. So that's kind of why I'm leaning towards Navalny winning documentary myself. But this is one of those ones I think it could go anyway. I don't think anyone will really be too disappointed in the documentary branch.
Even House Made of Splinters has a narrative where you say, okay, it's attached to Ukraine and Russia, and that they might.
Yeah, but it doesn't have the title, whereas Navalny does, which I think is important.
Yeah.
I think that this race is, I don't know, I just kind of feel like it's Navalny. As PGA, BAFTA, what else got those? My Octopus Teacher. Those are the two precursors that something gets when it starts to sweep. And All the Beauty and Bloodshed's been getting really weird misses. Like, it missed the DGA, which is, like, really strange. Now, DGA isn't that important, and Fire of Love ended up winning DGA. And, like, I don't know. It's just been missing weird things. I think Fire of Love also won WGA, but PGA and BAFTA are the two most important ones. It went to Navalny. I didn't really care for Navalny personally. It's, I would say, my least favorite of the 5 nominees. So I'm really hoping it's All the Beauty and the Bloodshed because that's one of my favorite films of the year, full stop, like documentary or not. Love All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. I think it's absolutely incredible. But like, it's just been showing some really weird misses in like, even just like early on, like the Critics' Choice Documentary Awards. Do they mean anything? Absolutely not. They're pointless. They're like, they have zero voting crossover with any of the Academy. But like, it missed there in a field of 12. And like, it's just been like weird things like that. Like it missed like Cinema Eye honors or something like that. Just like all of these little things that have just kind of built up that have like shaken my confidence. And Fire of Love has always had the problem that it's purely archival and they hate archival things. I mean, that's where their snubs usually come from. Look at something like Apollo 11 or 13, whatever it's called. And like all of these things. So I know I'm leaning Navalny. I just hope it's literally anything else because I don't know. I've been predicting Navalny literally since Sundance of 2022 when I saw it. So for 15 months now. Because like it's just always felt like the thing. It always had the narrative of the name of Navalny during the war. Like it's always had that relevance. Warner Brothers distribute. Like it just has always made sense, and I'm upset that nothing really challenged it, but it just kind of makes sense.
Plus, it was filmed in real time, and that was what's crazy about it. It's happening in real time. It's like you just can't believe what is going on in this movie in actual real time. You know, that's the wild part about Navalny. You know.
But moving on to Best Animated Feature, this is another one that's pretty much clear cut at this point. It's going to good Del Toro's Pinocchio. It really like it's won sort of everything it can possibly can at this point.
DGA, WGA,
Yeah.
ASC, ADG, like the Annie. It won literally every single possible precursor it could. I mean, obviously Globe, Critics' Choice, but like every single guild. It won every single industry award. It was insane.
Yeah. But yeah, Dan, anything more to say about Pinocchio? Or
I was watching a friend of ours this morning. Malcolm, who said they didn't like this movie and that they didn't think it deserved best animated feature. I'm like, what the heck world are you living in, Dylan? I'm calling you out, Dylan. What world are you living in? This movie's a masterpiece. It's a phenomenal movie. It's got so much great stuff in it. I mean, how could you not want this movie to win? I mean, yeah, of course, Pinocchio. This is the
Love it.
If on Gold Derby you have two super bets, you better put one of your super bets on this movie because it's one of the most obvious choices.
No, it's very clearly winning. I didn't love it personally, but like I respect what Del Toro's doing. Like he has a very, very clear vision and authorship over his work. I've just never been personally the biggest fan of Del Toro in general. Like Nightmare Alley, Shape of Water, even like Pencil. Like none of his films really have entirely worked for me. I've always felt like I'd rather.
They're masterpieces.
I've always felt like I'd rather sit and talk with him for a couple hours about his movies and like.
He's a great talker. He's a great talker.
Sit and watch his films. I know they always come off as cold to me, but as far as whether it's winning or not, it's very clear and obvious. So.
Yeah, like I'm also really lukewarm on Pinocchio. Like I liked what he did and all that, and I mean I still say it's the better Pinocchio movie that came out in 2022. It's like it's not really that hard to be better than Disney's one.
Yeah,
but
no, I don't know, like in the animated this year, like my favorites, like I would have loved to see like Mad God get nominated. I thought that Mad God was incredible from Phil Tippett. And then out of the nominees, I would say Marcel the Shell is probably my personal favorite. But
yeah,
I mean, I can't like I like Del Toro as a person. I can't really be mad about him winning. So
yeah, I mean Marcel's going to be the interesting one because I think if there is going to be an upset here, I think it's probably going to be Marcel that will cause the upset. The only reason I think that it's probably not is most people probably look at it and think, does it really deserve to be in here because it is partly live action as well?
There's been no precedent to show that Marcel has like that anything has any kind of strength.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. As I said, I think if there's an upset there, I think that's the one because I think Turning Red, I think it's kind of been forgotten about now. Puss in Boots, I think, is the one that came out recently. The more recent one that came out, but
I can't believe that got like so much hype around it. I don't know.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it getting the nomination. It's just great. It's like top 100 of all time on Letterboxd. Like, okay,
yeah.
No, come on.
Just passed the seventh seal the other day, which like broke me. But
yeah, no. Once again, I've still yet to see Puss in Boots. I actually blind bought it on Blu-ray and, when it comes out, But yeah, moving on to another one that's pretty much cut and dry. Best visual effects. What do you have, Trevor?
Cut and Wet. Yeah, it's Avatar: The Way of Water. Yeah.
Yeah. Dan, do you have anything different for visual effects?
No, I don't. This is the other one. If you have a Gold Derby, if you're on Gold Derby, you want to do a super bet. Put your super bet on visual effects for Avatar: The Way of Water, because this is one of the maybe two or three biggest locks of the night.
I'm putting mine on my biggest swings to try to, big risk, big reward, which we'll get to later. But
yeah, no, I think Emma was the one that said it was like it was when I asked about Avatar's chance of visual effects, like, well, is water wet? But yeah, I mean it's just one of those ones like none of the other ones really have a chance. But moving on to best sound, Dan, what do you have for best sound?
This is interesting.
All right, now sound is a tough category, but I just think because of the lack of Top Gun Maverick in cinematography, this is the way to reward Top Gun Maverick. And I mean, those jets and all that stuff, it's sounding great. I'll tell you what. And a lot of people are like, oh, All Quiet on the Western Front. A lot of times war movies do win sound. But I think because of no Top Gun Maverick and cinematography, this is the way they can reward it. And I think it's going to be Top Gun Maverick here.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like I think a war movie is going to win best sound. Like, because I mean, Top Gun Maverick is technically a war movie as well in a way. But yeah, this is I'm pretty sure that this is definitely between Top Gun Maverick, All Quiet on the Western Front. This is one I'm still kind of flip flopping between a lot because I think Top Gun Maverick won one of the sound guilds, and I think I can't remember if it was mixing or editing, and I think All Quiet got the other won an award from one of the other sound ones. So
what? Yeah. So what it was so All Quiet on the Western Front won the BAFTA. I just All Quiet wins at BAFTA. Like that was like their favorite movie ever. I don't know how much we want to read into those. Now the MBSE, which is the Sound Editors Guild, that went for Top Gun, but they split off international films. So All Quiet on the Western Front won Best Sound Editing in an international film, but that isn't entirely comparable since they're in separate categories. So I think the most important one here is to look at the Cinema Audio Society, which is the Mixing Guild. They had the exact same 5 nominees as the Oscars. And you know what they went for? Top Gun Maverick. So that is the only one where it had the exact same 5 nominees. It went for Top Gun. I mean, I think even if Top Gun wasn't like the big Best Picture hit, it still was probably going to win sound. Like it always kind of made sense to win sound. So that's why I'm leaning towards Top Gun. I do think it will be its only Oscar win. Thank God. Sorry. But like it makes sense for sound, if anywhere. And it also has that editing nomination, which does have a high correlation between editing and sound, especially in this sound category. So All Quiet does not. The one that would is Elvis. I don't think Elvis is winning here. It didn't win a single precursor. Top Gun has the most puzzle pieces.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's one of the. But yeah, moving on to best song, I believe this is another one that I think is kind of pretty cut and dry at this point. It's easily going to be Natu Natu Triple R. As much as I love the other songs in this category, I think the Rihanna's, the Lady Gaga's are not going to win this time round. But Trevor, do you agree for best song?
You guys want to hear a stat? In the history of the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice, every single film that won both of those categories and was nominated at the Oscars ended up winning the Oscar for Best Original Song. It's only happened twice that a movie won Golden Globe and Critics' Choice and lost the Oscar, and both of those times it wasn't even nominated. Every single time a movie won the Globe and the Critics' Choice for Original Song, it won the Oscar. Now, the thing that you could say potentially hurts it, okay, it was its only nomination. How much do they really love the movie? I think if anything upsets, we're looking at This Is a Life from Everything Ever All at Once. It's Everything Ever All at Once is peaking at just the right time. And like it got both of the music categories. Typically when something gets both of them and it wins Best Picture. I mean, we'll get into score next. But I know I'm leaning towards Naatu just because I am not going to really ignore a sweep. Also, how the Academy screening system works is they show you the clip from the movie where the song plays. Every single one of these other ones is going to be credits. For Naatu, it is going to be the dance sequence. I think it just makes sense.
Yeah, Dan, do you have anything different for song? Or...
Yeah, well, I have something to say about song. Look, Trevor, you made some good points there, and the thing is, I think if there's one thing that they could maybe think of, and they could think, well, the song in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is in tribute to Chadwick Boseman, and that Rihanna is doing this as a tribute to him, and that this is their way of like, oh, we didn't reward you for Black Panther. Let's give this song to her for the Black Panther Wakanda Forever in remembrance of Chadwick Boseman. That's because this is kind of a popularity contest in a way, the Oscars are. And maybe a lot of these voters will think, oh yeah, hey, let's give it to that for that reason. But I'm on the same fence as Trevor here, is like Naatu is one everywhere else. Plus, it's in the movie. It's this whole dance fighting sequence, and the other ones are in the credits. And also, rumor has it Lady Gaga might not even perform her song at the ceremony tomorrow. She's filming Joker somewhere, and if that, I mean,
I mean,
that
I don't
that'd be
entirely
crazy.
think that matters.
Well, that you
it's
never
gonna
know.
be the
You don't know.
I mean, that those things didn't even come out until after voting ended. So
Yeah.
but I think the interesting thing though is like, are people really gonna think of "Lift Me Up" as a Bozeman tribute song? Like, has that really been pushed at all? I don't know. I feel like Disney and Rihanna could have done a much better, like if that was the narrative that they wanted to go behind, then like they could have. But like not even like Angela Bass has been doing anything. And that's the thing I think as well, if anywhere is gonna go for it, like I know somewhere else would have went for "Lift Me Up" if they wanted to get behind the narratives, because the Oscars like infamously don't like to get behind narratives that much.
Yeah.
They aren't really that great unless it's like two competing narratives, or unless the narrative is really strong and it's paired with like, you know, a strong film. But if it's just a narrative for a film that they don't necessarily love, I mean, example, Glenn Close and The Wife, or Sylvester Stallone and Creed, or like, you know, you can keep on looking this year, Angela Bassett and Black Panther, maybe. Like if they don't love the movie, they don't really care about the narrative. I mean, that was Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's, right? They didn't nominate that for Best Picture. They didn't care about the narrative. So, and I'm going to bring this up late. I'm saying it now because I'm going to bring it up later. I don't think it's really that relevant for songs since we're all in agreement, but like they don't care about the narratives unless they care about the movie. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on to score. Trevor, what do you have for score?
Okay, I'm making a massive swing here. I'm going for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I'll explain myself. So, no movie that was nominated for score and song in one Best Picture. Let's be completely honest. Everything Everywhere All at Once is winning Best Picture. We all know this. No movie that won score and song, or that was nominated for score and song in one Best Picture, has ever lost score. And I think there's like, we've had no sweeper. Babylon won the Golden Globe. They love Justin Hurwitz. They gave him the win for First Man. He wasn't even nominated at the Oscars for it, right? The Critics' Choice went to Tar, wasn't even nominated at the Oscar. BAFTA went to All Quiet on the Western Front. That is not a very traditionally like Academy type score, and that was also like their favorite movie ever, and they gave that like, you know, the biggest overperformance of its life, right? So in a category where it split three ways, one of them not even an Oscar nominee, and with Everything Ever All at Once winning the most industry guild awards of any film ever with 12, has the most industry guild awards ever. They love the movie. I could see them just potentially name checking it and it going along with that Best Picture stat, because there's been surprises in the past. Like Slumdog Millionaire wasn't really expected to win score, but it got score and song, wins Best Picture, wins score. It's just kind of like a coattail win. So it's a swing. It's a really big swing, but I'm going for Everything Everywhere in score. Even though I really want it to be Babylon. I love the Babylon score. But
yeah, Dan, we were going for score.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Trevor's trying to sell here, but I'm not buying it because I think 2 hours of what Justin Hurwitz did, and then it's everywhere in the marketing for Babylon. It's all over the place. It hits you over the head, that score, and it's really the best score of the bunch of them, and it's really a major part of that movie. When you think of Babylon, you think of that music and you think of that score, especially when you're listening to the trailers and things like that. And I think Justin Hurwitz is going to win here, and I think Babylon, this is where they're going to reward Babylon, even though the movie didn't, translate as much as some of the aspects like production design or the score. This is a place where Babylon should win it, and it definitely deserves to win.
Yeah, I really hope so. This is one of my favorite scores. Like, I mean, it's up there all the time. Like, I love the score. Babylon was also one of my favorite films of the year. I loved it. I know it's very divisive. I adored Babylon. I want to see it get rewarded as much as possible. And maybe I'm just, trying to prepare myself for disappointment. That's very possible. But like the other thing I look at is let's look at the 21st century. Okay? And let's look at movies that weren't nominated for Best Picture that won score. Okay? Most recent one, Soul. It swept. It won everything. Golden Globe, Critics' Choice, BAFTA. The one before that, The Hateful Eight. It swept. Plus, it had the narrative behind Ennio Morricone. Let's give him an Oscar, right? He's never won. We got to give Ennio Morricone an Oscar. And then the one before that, I believe, was in 2002, I want to say. Yeah, with Frida. Elliot Goldenthal, I believe, also swept. And also that was in year 5. That movie got multiple above the line nominations. If that was a field of 10, it definitely would have gotten in the field of 10. So that's 3 in the 21st century, and all of them swept and had like or had like a very strong narrative for both. Babylon only won the Globe, and that scares me because as a non-sweeper, we've seen this before where something is expected to win score, but it doesn't sweep. It's not in the Best Picture nomination. Like, and it doesn't have really widespread support. Like, I don't think the Academy really liked this movie, and I could see them just not going for it just because they don't like the movie, even unfairly, which scares me. Because again, I really want to see Babylon get, I think, what it deserves and win. I mean, I would give it the win personally in all 3 of the categories it's nominated for.
Yeah.
But like, it's a mix of me being scared and also just not trusting the Academy to go for something outside of Best Picture that wasn't.
But yeah, so yeah, this is tough one for me because like I've been sort of flipping between sort of Babylon and Everything Everywhere All at Once in my head. Yeah, and the one thing that I think Everything Everywhere All at Once has is that it did win at the Society of Lyricists and Composers Guild for Independent Film, and
Yeah,
I mean, while there is not a lot of correlation there, because like the Society of Lyricists and Composers are relatively new. In the first 2 years that they existed, they lined up where the Oscars went because both Joker and Soul won the first, for studio film. Then Encanto won studio film last year for the awards where the Academy went to Dune. And then this year it was Nope for studio film, and Nope's not nominated. So yeah, it's definitely one of those ones that's up in the air. And
but
yeah.
Can I point to something like Black Panther? Okay, Black Panther, that even was like, some like First Man, like that's what Oscars didn't even nominate, right? If Beale Street could talk, that was like sneaking in a little bit. It was like maybe peeking his head through the door. Didn't happen. Okay, Black Panther didn't win a single precursor. What did it have over Beale Street? What did it have over First Man? A Best Picture nomination. And Everything Ever All at Once has the Best Picture win. So I think that's what, and like you could also make a strong argument for All Quiet on the Western Front. It just, I don't know. It didn't even get nominated anywhere else than BAFTA. Everything Ever All at Once didn't get nominated anywhere, but it has the Best Picture win support. I could very easily see just like so many people love this movie very clearly, and obviously it's the industry's favorite movie of the year by a large margin. I could see people just name checking.
Yeah, this is one of those ones where I'm probably going to keep going back and forth in my head. I'm probably not. If I'm going to change them, it's probably going to be extremely last minute as tomorrow until I can't anymore. But moving on to production design, Dan, what do you have for production design?
Well, once again, I already mentioned it in score, but I have Babylon. I think when you think of production design of all the movies, and I know you were a fan of Fabelman's, Malcolm, but those, especially the first 2 sequences, that party sequence, and then the sequence where they're filming all the movies at once and all the various crazy stuff is going on, the second sequence. And there's just so much of this movie that is pretty freaking amazing when it comes to the production design. So I think it's an obvious pick here, and it's another place where they could reward Babylon.
And it's a sweeper. And this is why I feel confident about it here way more than I do in score, which feels weird that it's stronger in production design than score. I mean, again, both incredibly worthy. Babylon would be my personal choice in every single category it's nominated for if I had a ballot. But it won everywhere. And that's just like a kind of like baseline rule that I try to work off of. You go for a Best Picture movie unless a non-Best Picture movie sweeps. And Babylon swept, so I don't think it matters that it doesn't have the Best Picture support. It is the sweeper. I could still see there being an upset by the name of Catherine Martin. They love Catherine Martin. I do think that she'll be rewarded elsewhere, which we'll get to. But Elvis could happen. I just think that the production design might be a little bit masked by like the editing. But like it always, like we talk about old Hollywood, right? They love going for old Hollywood stuff, right? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Mank, all these things, right? Elvis also does do old Hollywood. So
But
if they're
The
going
thing
to be
about
similar-
Elvis, let me hold on a second, Trevor. The thing about Elvis is you could just do that in Las Vegas and make it look like
I
back
agree.
in the 60s and 70s. And so the production design is what you said, masks. It hides because you could do it all in Las Vegas, a lot of that in Vegas and pretend like it's 40, 50, 60 years ago, you know?
No, I agree. And I'm going with Babylon, and I actually feel decent about going for Babylon here just because it was a sweeper. I mean, they even went for it at BAFTA, and BAFTA loved Elvis. They put it in their 5 for picture. They love Catherine Martin. They've given her even more than the Oscars. They give her stuff for like Strictly Ballroom and like all of these different things. They love Catherine Martin. Even they went for Babylon, and they hated Babylon even more than the Oscars did. So that's why I don't know. It won everywhere. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, and yes, and for me, like, well, yes, I do love Fabelmans, and I do think the production design is good for it. I'm also going Babylon. I unfortunately, I think Fabelmans is probably not going to win anything.
Yeah, that's not winning anything.
I mean, look, if there is going to be an upset, I would imagine production design is probably going to be one of the places where there's a potential to make that Fabelmans could somehow get some momentum, but I think at this point it is Babylon, and I know it's been a running joke with so I know a lot of people going, oh yeah, the Fabelmans is going to win everything because it's Hollywood. Even the Oscars love Hollywood. It's looking increasingly like old Hollywood is not going to matter this year. Except in these below the line categories.
I never really had faith in the Fabelmans to do much. Like just looking at the past couple years, it's never the big directors who like how movies dominate. I mean, Irishman, 0 Oscars. Like those early frontrunners, Trial of the Chicago 7, 0 Oscars. This year, it's Fabelmans, 0 Oscars.
Yeah.
I mean, the one to look out for next year, Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm not going to be predicting it for anything.
Curse you! I'm cursing you, Trevor. I'm cursing
you
you.
Until proven otherwise. I just like they never go for. I mean, it's like been this trend for like Best Picture. Like 14 of the last or 15 of the last 16 Best Picture winners came from like directors who had never been nominated in Best Picture before, or something like that. Like it's this.
I'm thinking it could be a battle. I think it could be a battle between Scorsese and Nolan next year.
God, I hope not. But yeah,
I hope so, man. Are you kidding me? I hope so, man. I want to see that.
Nah, give me Barbie.
I mean, honestly, if Barbie is as good as it looks, I think Barbie could be a stronger
Queen Greta.
possibility.
That and Past Lives. And those two
Past
things.
Lives. What is it? Are we getting it in June now, Trevor?
I believe so. Yeah. I know. I'm very excited. There's a lot of stuff earlier in the year that I'm excited. Like Showing Up, I'm very hyped for. I love Kelly Reichardt. Bottoms, I'm very excited for. It's not gonna be an Oscars thing, obviously, neither that or Showing Up. But like, I love Emma Seligman. Shiva Baby was one of my favorites of 2021. So like, there's a lot of stuff earlier in the year. A lot of the fall festival stuff isn't that intriguing to me so far. I'm excited for Saltburn, by Emerald Fennell. Excited to see what she can do in her next outing. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be an interesting season. I've heard good things about Maestro. So
yeah, that looks good.
Also produced by Spielberg and Scorsese, Maestro. So that'll look good on the Best Picture ballot.
But anyway, moving on, going to go to makeup and hairstyling. And this is one that I'm 50-50 because I know Dan's going to bring up the fact that last few years makeup and hairstyling is collaborated on the acting awards, which it still could if this prediction is correct. But unfortunately, going from what's been winning sort of in the makeup and hairstyling places at the moment, it's looking like Elvis is probably going to take this over the rail. I know, and it's just one of those ones where I think a lot of the guilds are getting over the use of fat suits. Well, it's obviously they liked what they did enough to nominate it, but I think fat suits is increasingly becoming a big sticking point when it comes to that kind of makeup, and I think so. That's why I think Elvis. Plus, Elvis has the advantage of that. It's not just about Elvis; it's all the other characters around in the movie, which I think
Lots of makeup showcasing.
to recreate the hairstyles and stuff of that time. Unfortunately for the whale, it's literally just hinging on the makeup they use for Brendan Fraser.
And also, which movie did they care more about? Elvis. They did not care about The Whale. The Whale missed Best Picture, missed Screenplay. Okay, it being the Ricardo. Okay, it just got acting, and then now Ricardo's didn't get makeup. But like, they didn't really like The Whale that much. They gave Elvis like 7 nominations, including Best Picture. I don't know. I think plus Elvis swept. I think it won everything as far as the makeup stuff, as far as the major category or major ceremonies that it was nominated for. I have a hard time arguing for The Whale here.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a hard time arguing for The Whale, and I go off of Gary Oldman and Darkest Hour. I go off of Charlize Theron and Monster.
Okay, wait. Do you think that Fraser's still winning though?
Say what?
You think that Fraser's still winning though?
Yeah, I do think Fraser's still
Okay,
winning. And
we'll get to that.
Fraser's going to win the actor, and it's going to get makeup. And I know what you guys are saying. The feathering of the hair, the 60s, 70s hairstyles. But also, do we not forget, Tom Hanks is in a fat suit with prosthetic makeup. Just like Brendan Fraser. That's the main makeup in the movie. Yeah, your black hair for Austin Butler.
Butler's also in a lot of
Elvis.
makeup.
And then there's some prosthetics as he gets older. He's got, because he's a little heavier as well. Elvis is a little heavier in the 70s than he was in the 50s and 60s. So there's prosthetics there. I understand all that stuff regarding the makeup and the various characters, and then all these. But I'm tying makeup and hair to Best Actor, and I'm gonna sink on that ship. And I'm not going to change it, and that's what I'm going to do here, Trevor and Malcolm. No one's going to change my mind.
I just don't know why. I don't know. I just feel like the Academy didn't really like The Whale, and The Whale also didn't win any precursors. So I feel like it has the double, like Elvis. But if you were comparing the two, Elvis had the more widespread support from the Academy, and it had more widespread support in the precursors.
Yeah, and my last point I'm going to make is just the other movies you mentioned, the Charlize Theron. I can't remember the title of it now. But,
Darkest Hour.
The Eyes of Tammy Faye, and
that's right. Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Yeah,
the Darkest Hour. The difference with those compared to The Whale is, once again, it's not. Well, yes, the main focal point of the movie is Charlize Theron and Mr. Churchill, but there was a lot. Just about every other character had their makeup and that aligned with. They recreated the times in that era. So a lot of them is similar to Elvis in a way, in which. Yeah.
And also looking at these last 5 makeup winners that have tied in with acting, all of them were acting winners except for Charlize Theron with Bombshell. Bombshell didn't win, but you have Tammy Faye, right? And then you have Ma Rainey's Black Bottom one, right? We have Ma Rainey. Then you had Bombshell. And then before that, you had Vice, right? Which also lost. But then you had Darkest Hour. You know what's in common about all 5 of those things? Biopics. They were all emulating real people. It is not necessarily the prosthetic makeup in general. It is the prosthetic makeup recreation of a real life figure.
Well,
and I think,
Trevor, not to interrupt you here, but now I heard 2 different things about this, but obviously Charlie is based on a character in a play, but also the play was based on a real person. Now I've heard that it wasn't a real person. I heard it was a real person. The play was based on a real person.
But do people know who this real person is? Like they know who Winston Churchill or Tammy Faye or Elvis Presley are? Like it's about emulating a famous real person in the look of a famous real person, like Dick Cheney. Like
I understand
Charlie could be a biopic, but Charlie isn't a famous person. And I think that is the big difference. It's about the emulation, not necessarily the prosthetics themselves. Like,
Yeah, and it's one of those ones like, and everything I've kind of looked at just to be sure. Like, I looked up the play. Like, at the moment, all I could find on the play is that there's nothing much about it being about a real life person. So I don't know, but yeah. But moving on to best film editing, and this is where I'm actually going to be a little bit bold here because I know that The Favourite is lining up with Top Gun Maverick at the moment,
well, I
but
would disagree. I
well,
think
which means maybe me and Trevor are actually going to be on the same line of thought here. But I'm going for Everything Everywhere All at Once to take out editing because it's like a lot of the editing is a lot flashy and just to go through all the multiverses but Top Gun Maverick did win Ace Eddies for drama, but Everything Everywhere got the comedy side of things. So I think it's a really tight race between the two of them. I'm leaning with Everything Everywhere All at Once. Trevor, what do you have?
I don't think that this is bold at all. I think that this is kind of obvious. I mean, because the one thing that I look to is the BAFTA, right? It won BAFTA. And so, and I think it's interesting to look at BAFTA versus the guilds. BAFTA is traditionally more correct when it comes to the tech categories. Why? Well, the tech categories, as far as the guilds, like the Eddies, the AC Eddies, they're voted on by editors and editors alone. The BAFTA winners are voted on the entire academy of actors, directors, producers, writers, plus, cinematographers, editors, production designers. That's how the Oscars work. They're voted on people from all of these different fields, not just the people who are the experts in the field who are members of the union guilds in America. So I feel like that's why BAFTA is one traditionally more correlative. But the other thing is, Everything Everywhere All at Once, its only win at the BAFTAs was editing. It didn't win a single other BAFTA, but it still won editing. And I think that is incredibly important, that even the BAFTAs, who liked Everything Everywhere All at Once, I think probably the least of any ceremony, of any of like the major groups. You could maybe say the Globes, I guess, but they don't have tech categories, so who cares? But like the BAFTAs probably liked Everything Everywhere All at Once the least, and they still gave it editing. And they were expected to go Top Gun because they typically go for like the racing movies, the engine movies, the movies that have like, these types of like vehicles and so. I mean, they went for No Time to Die last year, right? They went for Le Mans '66. So like they love these types of things. They still went for Everything Everywhere. I think that Everything Everywhere Once is like ridiculously strong here. I mean, the best picture win. I don't know. I think it's just, you can argue the sound stat, but I would also say that if sound was still split up into two categories, mixing and editing, Everything Ever would have gotten one of those nominations. The stat has to fall eventually since we condensed the field down to 5 in sound. I just think it's kind of clear at this point.
But Dan, what are your thoughts about best editing?
Well, Trevor, you stole my thunder. No pun intended here, but yeah, the sound category and the editing category are tied together typically. And what are we predicting for sound? Top Gun Maverick. Yes, is one of the best parts about Everything Everywhere All at Once the editing? Yes, it's editing all over the place in that movie. But the fact of the matter is, and it's been out there, we all know it, 800 hours of footage down to that movie, and those dog fights, those jet flying scenes, those fighting scenes are just incredible. They're incredibly edited, and you can't deny how incredible the editing is. And with the sound thing, I'm going to go Top Gun Maverick here with editing. I think you're going to tie it to the town, and I know you're going to try to tell me that I'm wrong or something, but I know editing is amazing in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I'm going against it. I'm going with Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the like no one's trying to say you're wrong, Dan. It's everyone's opinions.
I just don't know why it wouldn't have won BAFTA. I guess.
Yeah,
I feel like it. Like they liked Top Gun.
It's an American movie. It's a natural American movie.
They went for Ford
they
v
try
Ferrari.
to shy away from American.
They went for Ford v Ferrari.
Yeah,
but that's Europeans and is racing, and then it's the type of racing that England is involved in.
I would say still though. I mean, like everywhere is going for everything everywhere.
I know. I'm going against the grain on this one, but I just feel like you got to tie that sound and editing together, and it's two possible places. You could reward Top Gun, and it's a popular movie this year with a lot of people, not just fans that went to see it, but people in the industry love this movie. They love Tom Cruise. They love the fact that he waited and he put this movie out, and I think they want to reward it someplace. And when you're getting a lot of different types of bodies of people voting, you never know what they could pop out, what could come out of it.
That's fair, but I think also the widening the voting spectrum just favors everything everywhere, because that's more people's favorite movie. I mean, it won every single field it was nominated for.
It's at the top of the ballot, whereas Top Gun is at the bottom of the ballot. You know, you look down the ballot. Oh, what's everything? Oh, I'll check everything. So you have to go to the T's to go down to the T. You know, whatever. I mean,
and again, like everything everyone wants, it's winning Best Picture. It's like very clearly and obviously, like it won the most Guild Awards of any film ever. I just feel like it will have pretty widespread support, and I don't know. Like I could see an argument for Top Gun, but
yeah,
it feels like it's everything everywhere to me.
I will point out that the best editing BAFTA in 2018 went to Vice, which is another really heavily American movie. So
yeah,
so it is possible for an American movie to win.
Rhapsody. So I like BAFTAs don't really care about American versus British. It feels like to me that much, because in the past when you said, oh, it's just a British pick, end up being right. Example, Anthony Hopkins in The Father, Olivia Colman in The Favorite. So I don't think that that's that much of a thing. I just think that they really liked everything everyone wants is editing.
Yeah, but moving on to the next category, which is best costume design. Trevor, what do you have for costume design?
Here, I've got Elvis. I think that they're going to reward Catherine Martin somewhere. The Elvis costumes are very flashy. I mean, you can just look at the one, stage sequence alone where it's flashing between all of his different things, where he's like, posing like this. Like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, I don't think Catherine Martin's going to go home empty-handed. Now, like, funnily, like she always ends up winning like 2 or nothing, but I think that gets broken this year. I think that she's just going to win 1. I think that, again, if you're going to make an argument for something else, it's Everything Ever All at Once. It upset Black Panther at the Costume Designers Guild. They could just be name-checking it. But I don't know. Elvis and costumes have always just kind of made sense as a pairing. I mean, it's Elvis, somebody known for their fashion and for their costumes. It's Catherine Martin, one of the most awarded costume designers in the history of the Oscars. Like, 2 + 2.
Yeah. Dan, what do you have for costumes?
Yeah, I have Elvis as well. I mean, recreating all those classic looks from Elvis in the past is part of what makes that movie really pop off the screen. The pink suits and the bell-bottom pants and all the different things that Elvis wore. That people are going to be nostalgic about those costumes. Black Panther, I think, is kind of a movie that has dropped off the map as far as it's really has some problems with it. And I think this year isn't. Even though it got some nominations, I just don't see Black Panther winning in this category. I think if you looked at the first Black Panther, the costumes popped more. This with the shadowy cinematography and the cloudy look of like the telecons and stuff, which they're trying to get the costumes to make. Some of that stuff really doesn't look that good. And so I don't see Black Panther. If anything could upset, I think, of Elvis here would probably be Babylon, because you have a lot of period costumes in Babylon. I mean, all kinds of different types of costumes.
Yeah. I just think the scary thing with Babylon is, again, they clearly really didn't like the movie. So Elvis, I think a very strong advantage here.
Yeah, I mean, I've also got. I think if anything is going to upset Elvis, it's going to be Everything Everywhere All at Once. Purely because, like, if you go to the Costume Design Guild Award winners, like, Everything Everywhere All at Once got sci-fi fantasy over Black Panther, and Elvis got period, which I think Babylon was also nominated in that side of things too. So I think, it's definitely between the two E's in this category. Unfortunately, Mrs. Harris just won't go to the Oscars today.
Sadly, maybe should win.
Yeah, I love that movie though.
But moving on to a category which we may have the same answer in again, best cinematography. But Dan, what do you have?
Yeah, unfortunately, Top Gun Maverick isn't in this, which is, I mean, one of the most baffling things about the nominations. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I don't know how the hell that movie didn't get nominated, but because of the war stuff and the cloudy and the muddy and the whole dark look of All Quiet on the Western Front, I'm going to give it to that. And then, the dichotomy of 1917, where they're trying to make it look beautiful, which World War I, it was not a beautiful war at all. And this is more of what World War I looks like, or should have looked like in a movie. So I'm definitely going to go with All Quiet on the Western Front here in cinematography.
So apparently you're not going to have the same answer then, because I'm actually going with Elvis for this, because it did win the American Society for Cinematography, and she was the first woman to win top honors there, and I think there's a good chance that Elvis is probably going to win here as well, and I think it would make her the first woman to win in this category as well, and
Mandy.
so I think without Top Gun
Mandy
Maverick,
Walker.
I think what path is wide open for Elvis. But Trevor, what?
Yeah, I'm going All Quiet as well. I could see Elvis happening, but I just don't think, once again, that the Oscars care about narratives that much. Like if they wanted to go for the first female winner, Ari Wegner was right there last year with Power of the Dog, right? I mean, there are a lot of options. It should have happened far before. I mean, Claire Mawthon should have like 2 or 3 Oscars in my opinion right now. I mean, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Spencer Batima, like some incredible work from her. But like, I don't know. I don't think that the editing of Elvis really services the cinematography. Like you can take like screen grabs from Elvis and it looks beautiful, but while watching the film, you can't really take it in. And I think that's a big problem. Like, and again, that the Academy just doesn't really care about voting for narratives. If they wanted to do the first female winner, they would have done it before. The reason that we got like, these like milestones before are just because it was obviously their favorite in the category. And All Quiet, it has the BAFTA. And you could argue that, like, sure, Elvis has ASC. I think the important thing is All Quiet wasn't nominated at ASC, which you could say it as a point against All Quiet, but I think that it was just because none of the guilds really went for All Quiet because it didn't really hit in the guilds. It was this really weird phenomenon where like the guilds in America just completely ignored All Quiet, and then BAFTA went insane for it, and then the Oscars followed suit. And I think that if All Quiet on the Western Front was nominated at ASC, it probably would have won. Like it probably would have won. And I just think the timing was off. And timing is so important. There is a very different stage of before nominations and after nominations. We saw this like exemplified perfectly last year with Coda. People didn't really care about it before nominations. After nominations and people saw it, it took off. And the same thing is kind of happening with All Quiet, where the timing was just off for it to get the guild nominations, which happened in like early January. And then it peaked at just the right moment to get BAFTA and Oscar. So I don't think that we can look at this Elvis win all that seriously without the competition with All Quiet. All Quiet beat it at the BAFTA, Elvis. And it also won the British Society of Cinematographers as well. Like, and like ASC BAFTA splits are interesting. You look at something like Mank, right? Mank won ASC, Nomadland won BAFTA. What did they go for? They did go for Mank. But I don't know. I just think All Quiet's a stronger movie. I think it has the stronger win, and I just don't really think, as I mentioned before, the cinematography of Elvis will be that serviced by the filmmaking of it.
And I want to point out really quick that I like what Trevor said about the editing of Elvis not servicing the cinematography. I think if you didn't have such flashy editing in Elvis, you could have allowed for better cinematography. And I think that does hurt Elvis as far as that goes. And I think you're right about that, Trevor.
But moving on to best original screenplay, and Dan, what do you have?
Original screenplay. Look, everybody and their brother is on this Everything Everywhere All at Once train. I'm gonna pick one place that I've had a couple places I had to stand my ground on, but one place I want to reward. I'm thinking, how do you reward multiple directors? How do you reward multiple films? And I think a place you can reward Martin McDonagh is in original screenplay. And it's my favorite movie of the year. I love that movie. I love what it's trying to say about Ireland and England and society as a whole. I think Martin McDonagh got shafted for 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, and I think this is their way to reward him, make up for that. And because you can give the Daniels and you can give everything awards in other categories, but this is the way they could really spread the love and give Martin McDonagh original screenplay for the Banshees of Inisherin. That's what I'm going for here.
Okay. Why would they
Yeah.
spread the love? Is my question.
Because people have been seeing these Birdman things happen too much, and they want to spread the love. And it's a popularity contest. It's not like the guilds where, okay, you're going to give the best thing in a lot of these guilds. In the Oscars, it's a popularity contest. And how do they be more popular? Oh, let's give this one award for this. Let's give that one an award for that. We're going to give 2 awards for this one over here. So let's try to do this, that, and then make everybody happy on the night. Obviously, you're not going to make everybody happy. We know that. But this is a way to make a lot of people happy, more people happy than not. And that's why you can give Banshees of Inisherin, Martin McDonagh, this award.
I think if we're looking at like Best Picture winners, though, who were strong contenders for director and screenplay, right? Coda was nominated for director. We can look at that. Nomadland didn't ever really feel like a screenplay movie. It also lost the Writers Guild. Parasite was very strong, had a lot of passion. It won director and screenplay. Green Book was nominated in director. Shape of Water never felt like both, right? And then you can keep on going back. Moonlight, right? That was always going to be La La Land and director. That was like the very strong sweeper. With something like Everything Everywhere that has Critics' Choice and WJ, like, yeah, you have something like Birdman. If a movie has a lot of passion and is really strong in Best Picture, then there's nothing really against it sweeping, I guess.
And it should have. Birdman should not have won that. It should have went through
I agree.
Richard Linklater for Boyhood. They should not have given Inuyasha 3 Oscars that year.
I 1000% agree. But again, when a movie has that much passion and it feels like a director and screenplay thing, because like you know, we can look at movies and think like what feels like a directing type film, what feels like a screenwriting
It's more
type
of a
film.
directing movie than a screenplay to me.
You think Everything Everywhere is more of a directing film than a screenplay film?
I think their flair as directors is in there. Look at Swiss Army Man, the craziness and the wackiness. It's their flair as directors that, and all this editing and all this craziness that they throw in there, even though it was this very minuscule budget, they threw a lot in there, and that's them. That's not the screen.
Throughout with your like predictions throughout the year, what did you have Everything Everywhere in first, screenplay or director?
Director.
You had them in for director before you put them in screenplay.
Yep.
Because screenplay always felt like the more likely thing for me. Because you think about original screenplay, right? It is always, I mean, in like even with the 3 Billboards thing, what won? It was the genre type film with the passion, right? Something like Promising Young Woman. It is the more weirder, kind of more fun pick with passion, and like passion matters a lot in the screenplay categories.
Well, that's why I went with Banshees, because I think there's a passion there when it comes
you
to.
think Banshees has more passion than Everything
study
Everywhere?
What that movie really is about. There's a passion.
Oscar voters don't want to study things. If they did, then we'd actually have like good nominees.
No, I'm saying you should study what Banshees is really all about, and I think it's based on a real life events and types of things that happen between England and Ireland, and it really kind of sheds light on how stupid that war was between Ireland and England over Catholicism and Protestantism.
Or are they just going to vote for their favorite movie that made them feel good?
Yeah, that's it. You might be right, Trevor. I just decided I'm going to go with Martin McDonagh because I feel like he deserves it more, and I'm really pushing that deal.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like, um, this is one of those things like, well, yes, I get like Dan really wants the Oscars to spread love and all that. This is a year which unfortunately I don't think there's going to be a lot of love spread. Because I have everywhere all at once, winning best original screenplay. But that being said, I do think Banshees is definitely up there for sure. Because the one thing that it does have going for it is it wasn't eligible for the WGA.
For sure.
So there is still a chance that Banshees could come out of nowhere and overtake
I still
it.
think even if Banshees was eligible at WGA, Everything Everywhere probably would have won just because of how overall popular it was at the guilds. It would have been weird if it won PGA, DGA, SAG, ACE, ADG, Makeup and Hair, Costume Designers Guild, and then didn't win the Writers Guild.
But it's not a writer's movie. I mean, it's all that stuff you're talking about is all the wackiness and the craziness and all the other technical aspects of the movie. It's not a writer's movie. It's a technical achievement under a really small budget. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Just to counter your point, Dan, for Everything Everyone Wants, this is one of those movies that I think it works on every level, because I think even the script really works for, because I think it does tell a really good story.
Oh, it does. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not denying that.
This is one of those things, because while I think Banshees is a good movie, I think it's directed more than the script is actually.
I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's more of a writer's movie, and
I would argue it's the
by the performances by Barry Keoghan, Carrie Condon, Brendan Gleeson, Colin Farrell. Why are there so many acting nominations? Because of the performance they gave based on the script that they were
Everything Everywhere also has 4 acting nominations.
Yes, it does. You're right. It does. I'm not denying
I'm just saying, like, Everything Everywhere, I'd say is, I think we can all agree that the Academy overall likes Everything Everywhere all at once.
They do.
More. So, like, I completely understand that you want Banshees to win, and I'm not going to say that you're wrong. I mean, anything can happen at the Oscars. It's the Oscars. Yeah. They've done weirder things, but like, I don't know. I just like
Birdman was the last movie that got those major 3.
No, Parasite.
Parasite did? Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Man. My bad.
And that's why I'm feeling the comparison with Everything Everywhere, because it feels like the same type of passion surge to me.
All right.
Where they just want to give it everything.
And they'll give those awards everywhere all at once. But yeah, Trevor, I think it's safe to say you've got Everything Everywhere all at once too.
Yes, yeah, I also have Everything Everywhere. Yeah.
Moving on to adapted screenplay, going from one with a bit of a contention to one that might be pretty straightforward. But Trevor, what do you have for adapted screenplay?
God, I hope this is straightforward. Women Talking is one of my favorite films of the year. I adored it. I really hope it wins. I'm scared about All Quiet on the Western Front just because it's very clear that the Academy did like All Quiet on the Western Front a lot more than Women Talking. Women Talking barely scraped into Best Picture. It only got 2 nominations, just this and Best Picture. I mean, no, this would be, I think, the lowest nomination count a film has won screenplay on since like the 1930s. But like, even though All Quiet is the more beloved film, it really doesn't feel like a writer's film. They never go for war movies. They didn't even go for something like Thin Red Line when that was nominated. What did they go for? They went for Jesus Christ, what was it called? I can't remember.
Shakespeare in Love? Was it Shakespeare
No,
in Love?
no, that was an original. It was Gods and Monsters. Gods and Monsters is what they went for.
Oh, God, I love that movie.
So, like, again, they don't go for war movies and adapted. They also don't go for foreign language films. Foreign language films is one original, and like, sure, that's like, you know, whatever, original adapted. But like, it just, a foreign language war movie has never made sense to win screenplay. And it won BAFTA. Women Talking was nominated there. They had screener problems. MGM, not good at campaigning. So they had problems getting it screened over there. It didn't even come out in the UK until after the nominations. So of course it was going to struggle to get a single nomination there. It won the Women Talking won the Critics' Choice. It won the WGA. Sure, All Quiet wasn't eligible there. I still think Women Talking probably would have won those 2. And I think the other important thing is that Women Talking got into the Golden Globe field of 5 nominees, regardless of original and adapted. It was the only adapted screenplay nomination that got into the Golden Globe field of 5. And they didn't even like the movie that much. They didn't even give it picture, director, any acting. So, like, I don't know. I really hope that Women Talking wins, and everything's lining up for it. I'm just a little bit scared. But I really want to see Sarah Polley up on the stage accepting an Oscar. And the stats point to it. I'm scared about All Quiet on the Western Front because of how much the Academy loves that film.
But Dan, what do you have for adapted screenplay?
Yeah, I also have Women Talking here. I think that's if you look at the script and you look at how those women just absolutely read that dialogue and just perform that dialogue, all those 8 women and 1 man in a barn talking, and how powerful that conversation is. It's a great script, and you got to give, once again, on the same bandwagon as Martin McDonagh, this is a place to reward somebody that really did a great job, and you can do something different. Yeah, it's a one-off for Sarah Polley here, but she's an actor and she's one of them, and so but Women Talking seems like the most obvious choice here. But if I had an upset here, I would say, and I know Trevor's probably going to give me crap on this, but Living, I think the guy who did the script for Living was amazing. I think that script is incredible. I mean, I think that would be a second place here over All Quiet on the Western Front. You made all those points about All Quiet.
Possibly. I feel like it won BAFTA over All Quiet, though, if it was like that strong.
Yeah, but I know. I'm just saying. I just think that guy is kind of
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also going Women Talking here. Like I've still got to get around to actually seeing it, but from what I've heard about it, it's literally about women talking.
No. I mean, it's a very righty film. I mean, I got to see it at the Chicago Film Fest with Sarah Polley. Got to interview her, got to meet her. It was very fun. She's amazing. I think the scary thing is, I have a question for you guys. Would you still be predicting Women Talking if it didn't get a Best Picture nomination?
No, I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think it's just about rewarding somebody who did a great job at something.
It would be weird if it won, like a movie that won, like a movie. Sorry to cut you off, but like it'd be weird if a movie won screenplay off of its only nomination. Like that's never happened. And like, granted, that's not what we're working with, but say we were still in the sliding scale days, right? Women Talking, I think, was definitely the number 9 or 10. If we had like 8 nominees, like we did just like 2 or 3 years ago, Women Talking probably wouldn't have gotten a Best Picture nomination. And like, would we still be predicting it off of 1 nomination? I don't know, maybe, but like, it's an interesting hypothetical because like in this hypothetical, it would have still gotten the same number of votes in Best Picture. It still would have had the same amount of support, but it's just having that Best Picture nomination. Would we be predicting it differently? I don't know. It's scary to think about because again, I really want Sarah to win, and like everything should be pointing towards her, but I'm worried.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have still predicted it if it wasn't nominated Best Picture, just for the basis that it did win WGA. If it didn't win that, then that would be a different story.
I agree.
I think if I remember rightly, I think Living wasn't eligible for the WGA as well.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
No,
so it's definitely the interesting one. Like, I've always found it weird that war movies end up in any kind of screenplay categories. Those are movies that I don't watch. Think I really love the way he talked about killing that guy.
But again, it's purely support for the movie. This is why I always talk about having that Best Picture nomination is important. I mean, that's why I predicted All Quiet on the Western Front to get into Best Adapted Screenplay in the first place over things like The Whale, because they liked the movie more. And the Academy, a lot of the people in the Academy aren't the smartest of people. It's a lot of just like, it isn't like film critics. It isn't like, cinephiles. It isn't people who are like, necessarily love movies. A lot of it is just regular people who are like, who like just like work like in and around the film industry. And their taste isn't like that high profile. And typically they just vote for the movie that they like to get in, not necessarily like looking at, oh, okay, what was my favorite screenplay? It's, oh, okay, what movie do I like that I can vote for here? That's why you like something like All Quiet on the Western Front, like you won't see them going for like more like, something that feels more like a screenplay pick for the nomination. Like you'll see things like All Quiet on the Western Front and Top Gun Maverick, which like don't necessarily feel like screenplay movies. It's just that they really, really liked those movies, so they put them in screenplay over things that potentially felt more like a righty film.
Yeah,
So-
I actually agree with that. That's how the whale got knocked out here. And it's
Yeah, they
sad
just
because
didn't like
Top
the movie
Gun did not deserve to be in here at all.
No, I mean, I would have loved, like, I mean, there's so much, like, After Yang. It never had a chance, but After Yang was one of my favorites of the year. That was an adapted screenplay. I really enjoyed Bones and all. White Noise, I know, is a bit divisive. I personally enjoyed it a lot. And, like, a lot of these, like, adapted screenplays and stuff that, like, regardless of whether you know, enjoyed them, they feel more like righty films, in a sense. They're a lot more dialogue heavy. I mean, even something like The Whale, which I personally didn't care for, but that's way more of a righty film than something like All Quiet or Top Gun.
Yeah, and
So-
movies that they're like one room, like set based on a play, have
For sure,
done
for
good
sure.
in the past.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, you look at something like Fences, like all these things, but like, again, it's just more, as we said, it's populist, right? They go for their favorite movies, not necessarily the movie that fits the category. And that's why we see choices like this.
Yeah, I mean, to compare it with similar movie to The Whale that was a few years ago, The Father. Like, The Father was one that everyone was talking about.
Except The
And-
Father was good. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
I,
let's
I,
go.
I,
What
haven't,
are you
I,
talking
I haven't
about?
seen The Whale. I haven't seen The Whale yet. I'm going to try and see it next week, if I've got time, hopefully. But like, everyone's talking about The Father for many things. Like, The Whale was one of those ones. I think it's more like middle ground. Like, there's a lot of people that either didn't like it because they think it was like fat shaming and all that, and there's people that may have liked it because of the story, but ultimately didn't think it was as good as The Father. But which I know comparing those two are not really the same because they're different directors and different styles and all that. But I think it's just one of those ones because I think the difference is the director of The Father was the one that did the actual play. I don't think Darren Aronofsky did the actual play
No,
for The
it came out
Whale.
Uh,
So I think if it was the same guy, then it might have been done in a different way and all that. But
well, this is the other thing. Like, writer directors are very important in the screenplay categories. They always go for writer directors as far as their winners, right? Which is why I feel decent about Sarah Polley. Now, you could make that argument about All Quiet, and like this is why I'm not as confident about Living, just because they don't have that same writer director name to attach it to. And like All Quiet does have the name. Edward Berger was a co-writer on the All Quiet screenplay, but like Edward Berger isn't a name. Sarah Polley is a name in Hollywood. She was like a child actress. Like, people know who Sarah Polley is. Like, the only other name in this category is Ryan Johnson. And is that they really can go for Glass Onion? Like, no. It would have had to win like WJ or something, which is possible. They do like their comedy. I mean, they did like 8th Grade and stuff in the past, but yeah, I don't know. It should just be women talking.
yeah, well, I mean, the other note about Glass Onion, like a lot of the voters may think like, well, we didn't give Ryan the Oscar for Knives Out, which was also nominated. That they may give it here.
Yeah, but that
But
was
I mean,
also
but
nominated.
once again, like, there's all the other things that go against Glass Onion at the moment. But I'm not going to lie, I had no idea who Sarah Polley is until I heard people talking about women talking. I'd never heard
Watch
of that.
Stories We Tell. Stories We Tell is incredible. If you want to dive back into Sarah Polley, I mean, Away From Her is great. She's a very, very good filmmaker, but Stories We Tell is phenomenal, which she actually won the WGA for documentary. So this is actually her second WGA win. But yeah, no, Sarah Polley's amazing. I love her so much.
But moving on, we've only got a few categories left.
Easy category next.
Yeah, I was about to say best supporting actor. Anyone not going Ke Huy Quan at this point?
Now I got Ke Huy Quan.
You'd be insane not to say Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah, I mean, he's got everything he needs at this point. Like, look, as much as I love Banshees, unfortunately, I think the only one that could maybe give Ke Huy Quan any kind of thing, but once again, he didn't. But then is Brendan Gleeson.
I would say it's
not
Barry
even win the BAFTA. That's ridiculous.
No, I would say if any, like, the number 2 in this category is Barry Keoghan, who won the BAFTA. But you know what that feels like to me? Dev Patel and Lion. Marshall Ali swept the entire season in the Best Picture winner, Moonlight. BAFTA were like, we want to be different, so they went for Dev Patel and Lion. And then who the Oscars go to? It was the person who swept literally everything else who was in the Best Picture winner.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, it's one of those ones like, you can't, like, when it comes to the acting categories and like anything higher, I think the BAFTAs is really not a good one to go by when you're doing the comparing and all that. But moving on to the one,
they
I
can.
mean, yeah, it's one of those ones. In some cases, they do line up, but yeah,
Especially the leading categories, which we'll get to.
yeah. But moving on to supporting actress, Dan, what do you have for supporting?
Look, I'm probably going to get crap from Trevor over here. He's been giving me crap all night. But, you know, he's half my age and he's over here giving me crap, but I don't care. I know what I like and I know what I want to pick and I know what I'm going for. So that I don't care what anybody else says. I think Angela Bassett has been losing steam since her Golden Globe and Critics' Choice wins. And I think if you look at the SAG, and I know, you can't really look at the SAG. Well, that's from actors. And I'm looking at actors giving Jamie Lee Curtis a SAG for Best Supporting Actor.
Agree?
And I'm looking at myself and saying, well, they both have a similar narrative. She's been working for 50 years in the industry. She's been working for over 30 years in the industry. They both have a similar narrative. One movie is a movie that they don't like that's not in Best Picture, to steal a line from Trevor over here. And the other one is everywhere, all at once, all over the place. So what's another place that can reward everything, everywhere, all at once? Best Supporting Actress.
No, we agree. I'm also saying Jamie Lee.
And I think Jamie Lee Curtis is going to win her first Oscar here. And I feel bad for Angela Bassett. I just think it, and like I said before, it's a popularity contest. It's who they feel like deserves it at that particular time. We forget that part about the Academy Awards a lot of times. And that's why I'm going with Jamie Lee Curtis for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Okay, so
I've been fighting for my life over this on Twitter. I completely and 1000% agree with you. And I thought you were going to go for Carrie Condon since you've been, very high on Banshees. I really thought you were going to be predicting Carrie Condon because that's what most people are predicting. Carrie Condon's #1 in Gold Derby. And I know I have lots and lots of thoughts on this category, but yeah, I'm going with Jamie Lee, and purely because, like, if we look at, because Carrie Condon did win the BAFTA, which we got to remember. The one thing is SAG, when the eventual Oscar winner is nominated, they have not missed in this category since 2007. 2007. Okay. And the really interesting thing with this is, like, if we look at Carrie Condon, Angela Bassett, because that was the argument for a while. I never really bought into Angela Bassett. I was actually predicting Carrie Condon during that time when everybody was saying Angela, because, like, Angela Bassett always felt like the Sylvester Stallone type thing in Creed, or the Glenn Close in The Wife, a movie that wasn't nominated for Best Picture, losing to the BAFTA winner who was nominated for Best Picture. But when Jamie Lee Curtis won SAG and Everything Everywhere All at Once broke the record for SAG, something clicked in my mind, because if you compare those three things, Jamie Lee Curtis, Carrie Condon, Angela Bassett, right? Jamie Lee Curtis has arguably the strongest narrative of them. Like, Carrie Condon, she's great in Banshees. I think out of those three, she's my personal favorite of those three. My favorite in the category is Stephanie Hsu. But out of the three, like, potential contenders, I would prefer Carrie Condon to Angela or Jamie Lee. But do people know who Carrie Condon is? Not really. Are people going to know who Jamie Lee Curtis is? Yeah. And do people know who Angela Bassett is? Sure. But as you mentioned, what movie is stronger? Everything Everywhere All at Once. So if we're looking at Jamie Lee Curtis, she has the strongest narrative, she's in the strongest movie, and has the most correlative statistically precursor. So she's #3 in Gold Derby, but like everybody goes after me on Twitter for this take, but, like, I don't know. Jamie Lee Curtis just kind of makes a lot of sense. I think that people, Academy voters, are just going to want to give Jamie Lee the Oscar, and it's not like they don't like the movie. I don't know. It feels like Jamie Lee.
Yeah, and for the record, Dan, I didn't say that you can't use SAG to predict the Oscars. I said you can't always use BAFTA to predict the Oscars. Um,
I know
is
that, Malcolm.
yeah,
What
well,
did
I
I
mean,
say?
yeah, it's right. Anyway, but yeah, unfortunately, Angela Bassett's not going to do the thing this year. It's going to be Jamie Lee. Because like there was a point where like it was getting to a point where it was looking like Angela Bassett could actually do it after winning the Globes and all that. Then she did lose a lot of steam. But you'd think that with Black Panther Wakanda Forever dropping on Disney Plus, sort of around the time that the Oscar voting was happening, it was like it would pick up steam, but it really hasn't. Yeah, I think Jamie Lee Curtis is probably the safe bet to go here. I think it's going to be the SAG.
I don't think she's safe. I don't think that she's safe at all. I mean, again,
Well,
she's
yeah,
number 3 in Gold
also
Derby.
mean, and also I know who Kerry Condon is. She was the voice of Friday in the MCU.
Okay,
And
sure.
the other thing too, I
Sure.
just want to throw
Yeah,
in here.
about that.
A lot of times, okay, and and kind of what Trevor, he kind of was alluding to this in a lot of ways. In supporting actress or supporting actor, they give the award to either the up and coming person who's kind of coming up in the industry, like this Hong Chau, Stephanie Su, or they give it to the veteran who this is their first nomination. They've never been nominated before, and they've been in the industry forever and ever. So there's those two things, and guess what? Everything Everywhere All at Once has two of those: Stephanie Shu and Jamie Lee Curtis. So it'd be crazy to go for Stephanie Shu, but you just don't know. They might actually go for her. But I think it's going to be Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, here's the other thing. If we're going to talk about BAFTA and SAG, right? The really interesting thing, so within the last 10 years, when BAFTA and SAG have split, okay? So they've split and both ceremonies nominated the eventual Academy Award winner. It's happened twice, all right? The only 2 times that has happened in the last 10 years, because they split in every category this year, the only 2 times it happened was Mahershala Ali in Moonlight, the SAG went to, Dev Patel and Lion got the BAFTA. It went to Mahershala Ali in Moonlight, the Best Picture winner. The other time it happened, 2013, the BAFTA, it went to Jennifer Lawrence in Silver Linings Playbook. The SAG, Lupita Nyong'o, 12 Years a Slave. Who was in the Best Picture winner? Lupita Nyong'o, 12 Years a Slave. Every single other time it split, it went to BAFTA. But when it's a split in the SAG winner, every single time it split and the SAG winner was in the Best Picture winner at the Oscars, it went to the SAG winner.
Yeah, good stat. I like that stat there, Trevor.
I did way too many stats. It's
but yeah,
can I do Best Actor first, Malcolm, or are you going to go first?
well, that's the one we're going to anyway.
I know what you're going for. Yeah.
But talking about splits, Dan, what do you have for Best Actor?
All right, let's get into this. I wanted to get my 2 cents in first before Trevor has an opportunity to throw a bunch of stats at me. So, look, we have the Golden Globes where Brendan Fraser obviously said he wasn't going to show up ahead of time because of the abuse that he received at the hands of the guy who was in charge of it. So the Golden Globes are notoriously, they want to give the award to people that show up.
Mm-hmm.
So there's you can't use the Golden Globes against Brendan Fraser.
Okay.
Obviously, we know that Fraser did not win the BAFTA, but to me, the 2 places, first of all, with critics, number one, the critics trade. You can't. There's no correlation, but he gets up on stage and he gives this emotional speech that people can then YouTube clips, Twitter clips, Facebook clips all over the place. Oh my, look at the emotional speech, Brendan Fraser. But then the one that really matters, the one that hammers it over the head is SAG. Amongst his own peers, Brendan Fraser cleaned up at the SAGs and got up there, gave another phenomenal speech. Brendan Fraser is my favorite performance of the year, but he's also the best lead acting performance of the year. Austin Butler is a young actor. I know, he's 30 years old. He's not that young. Well, he's young in a lot of people's mind. People that watched all those Disney or Nickelodeon type shows, Wizards of Waverly Place or all that kind of stuff, they probably know who he is. And when you see Dune 2, you're going to know, oh, that's Austin Butler. But for a guy that's been acting for 40 years and who's been doing a lot, who's kind of had a rough time over lately in Hollywood, is Brendan Fraser. And once again, it's a popularity contest. They're going to give it to Brendan Fraser. I know it's a one-off or a two-off or whatever because makeup and Best Actor. And Trevor's going to say all this about Elvis and all these nominations and all this stuff. But I'm telling you right now, Brendan Fraser is going to win the Academy Award for Best Actor.
It's not impossible. It's a hard category to predict. Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
No, I was going to go.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is tough because I think legitimately it's definitely between Austin and Brendan. That's like as much, and this is one of those rare cases in which either one of those two are going to win, or they're going to end up splitting the votes, and maybe someone like Colin Farrell could win. But at the moment, I'm got Brendan Fraser as a favorite here, but in my heart, it's like, well, this is tough because looking at it's really tough when you think about the acting between the two. Like maybe once I see that rail, I'll kind of appreciate the acting, but it's one of those ones like Austin probably had the harder acting job. Well, I'm not saying that it was easy. Well, I'm not saying that it was easy for Brendan Fraser to do what he did. I'm just saying that Austin had the harder job of immortalizing Elvis, where when he was announced, like people were probably like the Disney Channel guys, like he can't be Elvis. But it's one of those ones like I think it's between Austin and Brendan. I'm leaning towards Brendan at the stage. I could change literally seconds before the actual ceremony, but Trevor, you can go ahead.
Okay. So again, I've been talking about the Best Picture nomination being very important. A Best Actor winner hasn't every single Best Actor winner since 2009 has been in a Best Picture winner. In addition to that, every single Best Actor winner since 2009 has won the BAFTA. Okay, when this didn't happen, it was Colin Firth in The Single Man, beating out Jeff Bridges in Crazy Heart. But again, that didn't have a Best Picture nomination. You have to go back a while to find something that won the BAFTA, which had a Best Picture nomination and then ended up losing. It's very, very rare. And I just think that there is a lot of support behind Butler. Again, the Academy doesn't care about narratives if they don't care about the movie. And we see this time and time again. Again, you can look at Chadwick Boseman, right? Then he had the narrative. They didn't care about the movie. They went with Hopkins, who won BAFTA. Glenn Close. They didn't care about the movie. The narrative didn't pan out. Lost to Olivia Colman with The Favorite. Sylvester Stallone. They didn't care about the movie. Then lost to the BAFTA winner, Mark Rylance, in a Best Picture nominee with Bridge of Spies. I feel like we see this time and time again. The BAFTA, historically, way more correlative, but especially having that Best Picture support and momentum. I just think that they care about Elvis more, and they'll care about Austin Butler more as a result. And again, it's playing a real life person. They, for better or worse, they love their biopics. He's playing Elvis in a movie that they nominated for Best Picture in one of the biggest box office successes of the year. I feel like if we're talking about this, and again, the other thing is between SAG and BAFTA. SAG, it's voted on by actors. You know how many SAG voting members there are? Like 150,000. There are 10,000 Oscar voting members. SAG is very susceptible to the narratives that the Oscars don't latch onto. And you could say this is an argument against my Everything Ever All at Once picks like Jamie Lee Curtis and stuff with SAG. But one, I also don't think that like, I don't know, again, but when the Oscars care about the movies that the SAG narratives are going for, then they will go for the SAG.
They care about the man, though. They care about the man.
Will
they? They care about Brendan Fraser. They care about his 40-year career. They care about what he went through the last few years. What?
Like, I said, did they care about Glenn Close? Did they care about Sylvester Stallone? Did they care about Chadwick Boseman?
Yeah.
I mean, and they swept too. All three of those. Well, Sylvester Stallone didn't, but Glenn Close and Chadwick Boseman swept their categories, and they ended up losing to the BAFTA winner, who was in a Best Picture.
Yeah, and Brian said it all in the chat. Like he said, it feels like that time we're all putting Glenn Close to win for The Wife, but then Oliver Coleman sort of came out of nowhere and won it. So, I mean, I don't know which way that argument is going to lead, because Best Actor is the one that definitely can go either way. Because I think I've seen a lot of things for, but
Listen, I don't think Fraser's impossible. Supporting actress, actress, they're all very much up in the air. But I've been predicting Butler since literally like July, August. Like I've been on the Butler train for a while.
I was too. I mean, I was like, this kid's getting a nomination for Best Actor, and as the Hugh Grants have fallen off, as all these people have fallen away.
I was saying I had him for the win since like July or August.
Oh well, I mean, you could predict in August and July that he was going to win. You didn't see all the movies by then.
Well, yeah. I mean, I predicted all throughout the year without seeing the films, but just off of stats and stuff. But like, it's just, I mean, that's how we got, like, I mean, I've had Kiwi Kwan for almost the entire year. It just, like, there are some things that just kind of make sense. As soon as Elvis became, like, a massive box office success, I predicted it to get a Best Picture nomination, and it did, and The Whale didn't. And I don't know, I think that Best Picture stat is really, really important for actor.
You could be right. You could be right. And I know you've been beating that drum all episode long. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. Yeah.
How would you say, Malcolm?
No, I was about to say, there's definitely a few categories. This is one of them that there's literally a 50-50 shot of it's going either way. Like, there's really
it's a close category. I mean, we'll get to actress in a second, but like both of these leading categories are coin flips. Like, but I'm leaning on Butler just because I feel like it makes a little bit more sense to me. I mean, I also don't really have too much. I'm not that passionate. I'm a bit more passionate about actress. Like both of these performances, I didn't like. They're good. I didn't love the movies that they were in. I mean, my favorite in this category by far is Paul Mescal in After Sun. That was my favorite film of the year by a very, very large margin. But like, he's obviously not even going to come close to winning. he's the number 5. Like, that isn't going to happen. He was lucky to even get the nomination. I'm happy he did, but like that was, I was predicting it, but scared about it. Like I'm honestly still kind of shocked that a movie as small as that actually got attention from the Academy, but I think it's great. So at this point, it's like, I'm just, again, I'm excited that we have a race because I'm not too passionate about either of these picks personally, but leaning towards Butler at the moment. Yeah,
but moving on to Best Actress, like this is another coin flip because of BAFTA and SAG. But yeah, this is one of those ones that I think that it's going to go. I'm leaning towards Michelle Yeoh for this. And well, I know that if she wins, like, she'll be the first Asian to actually first to identify as Asian to win. Well, and I know the Oscars don't care about narratives, but this is one of those ones that I think that based on Kate's speech at the Critics' Choice Awards, where she started talking about how the whole giving people awards is not a good thing and all that. And I think part of that was to encourage the other voting branches to maybe not vote for her to win and give other people a chance to win. So that's what I'm thinking. And Michelle Yeoh won SAG, and I think she's the only other one in this category to do anything, unless Andrea Riseborough's campaign did so well that she's going to catapult to the top.
No, I mean, to be fair, Frances McDormand did the exact same thing during her campaign for Nomadland. She actively said, "Don't vote for me."
When?
Guess who still won the Oscar? She was saying the entire season, "I don't want this Oscar," since she just
No,
won
she
for
just
Green
wasn't
Book.
campaigning.
Well, I said that too, but she did bring up like that she didn't want to win the Oscar. She mentioned that in interviews.
Yeah, I don't
But,
remember
like,
her saying that, but I just remember her not going out and actively
oh yeah, she definitely wasn't
campaigning,
campaigning. But,
and that's
yeah,
why you didn't see a lot of Frances McDormand.
but
But
regardless, she still won because
yeah, well, I know
they-
that I know she still won. I am still just
Okay.
something. He turned his camera off by accident, I think. So no, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, she wasn't campaigning. She wasn't going out there actively campaigning, and she still won because everybody thought she gave the best performance. Now, if she had went out there and given a speech like Kate Blanchett did at the Critics' Choice, saying this is the dog and pony show, this, that, and the other, and you shouldn't vote for me, this, that, and the other, they would have given that Oscar to Carey Mulligan. I almost guarantee they would have. And that's what happened with, they're like, okay, oh, you don't want to win, Kate, even though you gave the best performance of the year? All right, we're going to give it to Michelle Yeoh, but going off of your 100,000 actor stat over at the SAGs, so that may not correlate to, except for going back to your other stats that you like to say, the Best Picture winner. Tar's a Best Picture nominee, but it's not. I mean,
not winning.
Kate's the only other nominee in this as far for Tar, but everything's been nominated 12 times, something like that.
Tar did get a lot of nominations. Tar got a lot.
Okay.
It got director, actor, screenplay, cinematography, editing.
Oh, Todd Field's in there. I can't remember who. I'm not looking at anything.
Yeah, no. Todd Field got a director nomination, a screenplay nomination, and it was also Florian Hofmeister got nominated for the cinematography, editing. It overperformed, which is kind of the scary thing that the Academy did like Tar. They give it 6 nominations, but again, they just liked Everything Everywhere More. And I think while they don't necessarily give into narratives, they do give into passion. And I think that those are two very different things. And I think that Michelle Yeoh does have a lot of passion. This is the category that I honestly feel the worst about, because I would really like to see Michelle Yeoh win. I agree. I think that Kate Blanchett gave the best performance in this category, but I think that Michelle Yeoh would be an amazing winner. I think that she's long overdue. I think she's incredibly deserving as well. It's not like just because Kate Blanchett, I think, was the best, Michelle Yeoh is not far behind. She was also absolutely incredible. She's so deserving of this. Oh, yeah. And I know it's like, we should give it to the best performance, but Kate Blanchett has one too. Let's give something to Michelle Yeoh. Yeah. And I think that there will be a lot of people who want to give it to Michelle Yeoh. Now, here's the thing: if Everything Ever All at Once wasn't the best picture sweeper that it was, I probably wouldn't go for this. But again, I feel like everybody loves this movie so much. Again, it is the most awarded film in the industry of all time.
And mothers, I might add, mothers have won a lot of Oscars. People portraying mothers have won a lot of Academy Awards. So look at going back to the history of the Academy Awards. How many mothers have won? People who portray a mother.
People
a lot of mothers.
People will push back against. They've pushed back against me saying Everything Ever All at Once can't win 3 acting Oscars. Okay, it's been Network and Streetcar Named Desire, right? Those were the only 2. My argument: why not? Why can't it win? Again, this is the most passion I've seen for a film ever. And granted, I haven't been following. I've only been following in season for 4 years. I'm only 17, right? I'm not that old. I haven't been able to follow them for that long. But I've gone back through the history of different award seasons and stuff. And I mean, this is my life. I obsess over the Oscars. And this is they love to go for the passion. And this is the most passion I have ever seen behind a film. I have spreadsheets full of precursors and different things. This is the most passion I've ever seen behind a film, at least in the last 50 years. Maybe you could say All About Eve or something. But it is insane the amount of passion behind this movie. Why can't it win 3 acting Oscars?
Oh yeah, I don't see any. Yeah. I agree with you, Trevor. I don't see any reason why it couldn't win 3 acting Oscars. And I think people are getting I have friends on other shows, and I think that people are getting caught up with this whole hot dog fingers talking rocks, all
Yep.
this craziness. But at the heart, it's something we can all relate to. A
Yep.
family drama about a daughter who doesn't get respect from her mother, a wife who isn't really connecting with her husband. They have a business and they have financial problems. Who hasn't had these similar issues in their lives?
And if-
Everybody. It doesn't matter if you're Academy Award voter or not Academy Award voter. This movie resonates with people on all kinds of levels: white, black, Asian, Latino. It doesn't matter. Just put all the craziness aside. It's a drama. It's a family drama, and we all had family dramas. You
And
know
if
what I mean?
people cared about, like, oh, it's the hot dog fingers, the butt plug, right? If people cared about that stuff, why did it win the most Guild Awards of all time? Like,
That's it.
if people
That's it.
actually cared about that and people are like, no, I don't want to vote for that, then why is everybody voting for it? Like, the arguments
right.
don't make any sense. I don't
No,
know.
you're right. Yeah, so Michelle Yeoh to me is my pick here, and I think she deserves it based
Yeah.
on what you said, Malcolm. You left us. You changed clothes for a few minutes there, which I don't blame you. We don't want to see that, Malcolm. But I'm giving you a hard time, Malcolm. I'm giving you a hard time. But yeah, based on that, based on first Asian winner plus a 40-year career and Everything Everywhere All at Once being the juggernaut that it's going to be, this is definitely going to be one that's going to go along for the ride here.
But, like, let's be honest, it could still very easily be Kate Blanchett. Like,
Yeah, it
this is an incredibly close category. Kate Blanchett still won the Globe, the Critics' Choice, and the BAFTA. And the BAFTA was even after the Critics' Choice when she gave that speech, and the BAFTA still gave it to her. And that has been historically the more correlative. The BAFTA ties closer to the Oscar when they nominate the winner and when they don't do something weird like last year where they had zero crossover with the nominations and actress. When they actually nominate the Oscar winner, like, they are way more closely tied in lead actress than SAG. But I don't know. I just feel like Michelle Yeoh is the moment. I feel like people really want to give it to Michelle Yeoh, and she's in the Best Picture winner. She doesn't have the problem as far as people not liking the movie or something, which is my argument. Like Fraser, I just think that, like, it's hard to find a very strong argument against Michelle Yeoh. The problem is it's hard to find a really strong argument against Kate Blanchett. I'm leaning ever so slightly towards Michelle Yeoh.
As a friend of mine said on FYC, Jeff Snyder, if they believe Kate Blanchett gave the best performance, it doesn't matter what she says against herself. Sometimes they're saying, you're the best, you're going to get it, and here it is. Like it or not, you're going to get it. Same thing with Frances McDormand. So you could be right, Trevor, but they still will say, Kate, you're the best, and we're going to give it to you,
And, like, that's what I'm scared of, because, like, I would really like Michelle Yeoh to win this. Like, and again, Kate Blanchett gave my favorite performance in the category of the year. Like, I mean, my favorite performance of the year, it's like Kate Blanchett, Paul Mescal, Stephanie Shu, like, but, like, he gave my favorite performance of the year. I would rather see Michelle Yeoh win, because it would just be a much more fun win.
Yeah.
And I feel like it would be a little bit deflating if Michelle Yeoh lost, because I feel like everybody wants this to happen. Like, not even Kate wants to win. Kate doesn't even want to win. I guarantee you, Kate Blanchett is voting for Michelle Yeoh on her ballot. She's talking
Well,
out.
Andrea Riseborough, man. Maybe she put down Andrea Riseborough first. You don't know.
Yeah. But no, I'm leaning towards Michelle Yeoh, but I'm scared. We'll know in what, like, less than 24 hours now.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the cases that, especially if Michelle Yeoh wins, there's a good chance that all the winners of the acting categories are all first-time winners.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I know the Oscars don't follow narratives or anything, but I think if anything comes out, I think the 4 first-time Oscar winners, it could be something that that may happen for that reason as well.
Well, this would be the only one where that could happen, because Ke Kwan's obviously winning. Supporting actors, whether it's Jamie Lee, Angela, or Carey, they'd all be first-time winners.
Yeah.
Actor, between Austin and Brendan, they would both be first-time. Even if you want to say Colin Farrell somehow pulls off an upset, he'd be a first-time winner. So literally the only person who has a chance at being a repeat winner is Kate Blanchett.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
But yeah, moving on to Best Director.
Easy categories again.
Yeah. and it's going. I've got the Daniels. Anyone?
Yeah.
Not really got anyone going for anything.
They won
other than-
DGA. That was their biggest hurdle.
I got them.
Yeah.
I got the Daniels, and I
Yep.
agree with Trevor on that.
If they lost DGA, then maybe I thought they would. They've given Spielberg like 6 DGAs. He won for like The Color Purple. They love Spielberg at the DGA. Not even DGA went for him. It's done. It's over. Daniels are winning. You could say, oh, but they lost BAFTA. Yeah, they lost Edward Berger, who wasn't even nominated. Daniels are happy.
Yeah. And then best picture. I've got Everything Everywhere All at Once. Anyone going for
Obviously.
anything differently?
Yeah, I got
Oh.
everything everywhere all at once. I would love. I mean, I just and Trevor, I don't know if you're going to bring this up or not, but I've been talking about this a little bit, Malcolm, because of the preferential ballot. The only thing I can think of, and maybe Trevor will disagree with me. He's been disagreeing with me the whole time, but I think
We're on the Jamie Lee train together. We're
all
on the Jamie Lee.
right. So you got the preferential ballot here, Malcolm, and I just want to go on record. I'm predicting Everything Everywhere All at Once, but with the preferential ballot, I think you have to take Top Gun Maverick seriously or Elvis seriously because of second, third, and fourth place votes. I think, and I could be wrong, that you're going to get a lot of first, second place votes for Everything Everywhere All at Once, but you also could get a lot of 7, 8s, and 9s. But I think there's not going to be a lot of 7, 8s, and 9s for Top Gun Maverick and Elvis. You're going to get a lot more 3s, 4s, 5s for Elvis, 5s and 6s for Elvis, and you're going to get a lot of 2s, 3s, 4s for Top Gun Maverick. And with that preferential ballot, and I'm not trying to tell people to go watch other people's videos, but Dan Merle did a great job of talking about this and running this whole scenario over. He did 21 ballots, 21 different types of, and it ended up being the one that was in front at the beginning didn't end up winning because of preferential ballot. So you have to take the preferential ballot seriously. And I think because of that, based on some stuff that Trevor said, you got to kind of keep an eye out for Top Gun Maverick somehow, some way sneaking in there with a lot of 2s, 3s, and 4s, and maybe Elvis, a lot of 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6 votes. Because go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, I've talked about this a lot on my channel. I think the one thing, and I was scared about this, and I thought that maybe this could happen. There's a reason why the PGA is the most correlative predictor of Best Picture. They're the only other ceremony that also uses a preferential ballot.
Yes, and good point.
And
what won?
that
Everything
is-
Everywhere All at Once.
If Top Gun won PGA, I would take this seriously. The
Yeah,
fact
I know
that
what
the
you're saying.
PGA still went to Everything Everywhere, like if Top Gun won PGA, then like I would have this conversation and I would very seriously talk about like, okay, maybe Top Gun can happen in Best Picture, right? I mean, it has the screenplay nomination. That's very important. If it, it has these things. But the fact that the only other place that went for preferential ballot still went for Everything Everywhere, I think is really, really important. And honestly, I don't know how many 9s and 10s we're going to get. Again, it's winning every single guild it's nominated for. It's won the most guilds of all time. I keep on saying it, but like, it's true. It's one of the most guilds of all time.
Yeah, good point.
I think that, like, yes, there are going to be detractors from this film, but I think that was just a very early idea of why it maybe couldn't win. Is like, oh, there will be some pushback on the preferential ballot. I was part of that. I was saying that for a while, that like, there could be pushback on the preferential ballot, but just the dominance that we've seen from this film, I don't know how many people are really going to be putting it at, the 8s, 9s, and 10s. I think most people are going to have it in their top 2 or 3, if not number 1. And
No, I agree. I'm right there with you, Trevor.
yeah,
I'm right there with you, Trevor. I mean,
for sure.
I think this could be a preferential ballot no go. That doesn't even come.
Oh, I
into
agree.
effect.
I think you
There's
could just
a
win
possibility that
50%.
doesn't even come into effect.
Yep.
And it
I
just
would
bam,
argue
it just landslide wins it all straight out. They don't even have to mess around with the preferential ballot.
No, I think this could very legitimately get over 50% of the number 1 votes. I do not think that is impossible. But even if it does have to go to a preferential ballot, it's still probably going to get 35-40% of the number 1 votes. Like, even those types of numbers alone are incredibly hard to beat, especially when it's going to also be getting a lot of 2s and 3s. Like, I don't know. I feel good about Everything Ever. I really don't think it's that much of a competition.
Oh yeah, I mean it's one of those ones like this is I know like with Beth about like anything is possible. I think if anything is to sneak in there and win, I don't think it's Top Gun Maverick. It clearly didn't get a lot of love throughout the
Quiet.
other
Yeah,
categories.
All Quiet's
I
one, too. agree
I
with
think All Quiet, Banshees, or Elvis probably have the better chance of maybe being the
Yeah.
potential apple cart
All Quiet has the
upsetter.
European branch, which is important. I mean,
Yeah.
like if we got to consider this, like, and it can upset an adapted screenplay. Like, I know we're all predicting Women Talking. There is a world where that upsets an adapted screenplay, you know, and it also, again, I talked about the guilds. The guilds ignored All Quiet. If it was nominated at PGA, we don't know how it performs on a preferential ballot. Like if you're going to make a case for anything, I think you would make a case for All Quiet on the Western Front. But even then, it didn't get the director nomination, right? It didn't get a single acting nomination. This isn't like Parasite. I know you'll point to you could point to Parasite, right? I didn't get a single acting nomination. Yeah, well, that was also sweeping picture, director, screenplay, right? Like, and it had a ridiculous amount of passion. It was surging at the right time. What does that sound like? Everything, everywhere, all at once. Like, I think the number two, if we got to see the number of votes, it probably would end up being All Quiet on the Western Front, but. Again, I think that this is relatively a moot point, and I think it's just
and it's one of those things like I think a lot of these detractors for Everything Everywhere All at Once I've seen have happened after it was obvious that it was they're going to be the big favorite at the Oscars. Because when the movie came out, like everyone was raving about it, and I didn't really hear anything majorly negative about it. It's only recently when it started becoming the favorite for the Oscars, like everyone's going like, "Oh, how the hell can that win?" Like, it's a good like. They always go, "It's a good movie," but
instead, but we aren't like you could say like people did the same thing with like La La Land, like right frontrunner fatigue, Power of the Dog, but with things like that, those weren't breaking records every single week at every single award ceremony it went to. So I just like we've never seen anything like this. Like this is it like La La Land, right? People say, well, that was expected to be the front runner. That got an insane amount of nominations, right? That didn't win. That only won one SAG award. It was only nominated for 2, right? Everything Everywhere All at Once tied the record for nominations and broke the record for wins. It didn't win the WGA. It won 8 Guild Awards. Everything Ever won 12. Like it's stronger than La La Land. Like it's stronger than anything we've ever seen before.
I mean, imagine if the big apple carts knock it over. It's Avatar: The Way of Water.
Oh, get out of here, Malcolm. There's no way on earth Avatar.
Oh, I mean, I don't think it's in any way. I'm just going for the most unlikely case in this.
Yeah, no, I agree though. I think Banshees is going to be a lot of people's number 2, and
I agree.
And that could be something that could overcome. I forgot to mention Banshees and All Quiet, but I agree. Those two are. I'm telling you right now, this top 5 is a very strong top 5.
I will say
in any year.
The important thing though, and again, we're all in agreement about that. It's Everything Everywhere. The important thing is that we can't even decide on what's the number 2, right? Every other year where there has been a big like upset in something, like Moonlight over La La Land, like Coda over Power of the Dog, there has been a clear and obvious, Coda and Moonlight were the clear and obvious number 2s going into the ceremony, and that was the movie that people could rally behind, right? The fact that we don't even know what the number 2 is, shows that because yes, there will be a lot of people that have Banshees, there will be a lot of people that have All Quiet, a lot of people that have Elvis, but there isn't one singular movie that people are getting behind that's the underdog. And the fact that there is no one singular movie just strengthens Everything Everywhere all the way.
Yeah. It makes it so much more obvious. You're absolutely right, Trevor, on that one.
Yeah, and I mean it's one of those ones like because I've had this conversation with a couple of people when it's become clear that Everything Everywhere is potentially going to win Best Pictures, and these are people that I know that weren't really high on the movie to begin with, and I challenge them, well, what do you think is going to win? If you don't think it's going to be Everything Everywhere, it's like, well, I don't know. Maybe the Feldmans because it's about Hollywood and they like Hollywood. It's like, I don't think it's the case. Like as we said earlier, like the Feldmans, I think the Feldmans is just one of those ones that had potential, but just has really dropped off the radar when it comes to the awards thing. Like, I don't even think that's a clear sort of number two either. It's like, I think it's just there at this point. But yeah.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's going to be interesting to see sort of what happens come Oscar time. We'll be me and Dan will be back on Monday when we're going to be recapping everything that happened at the Oscars. But yeah, just got to rush off. So Trevor, where can people find you online?
Yeah, main thing is Oscar Buzz on YouTube. It's my YouTube channel. We're doing lots of things, doing multiple videos a week, all about the Academy Awards. We might live stream during the ceremony, either that or not, but we'll definitely be recording our reaction to everything as it happens. And yeah, throughout the year we're doing predictions, reactions, reviews. Immediately after the Oscars end, we're going to be transitioning into coverage for the Cannes Film Festival, which is fast approaching. Lots of exciting things going on over there. You can see what will be some of the big breakouts there. So lots and lots of exciting things. But yeah, and then Twitter, TM Talks Movies, Trevor Matson, Letterboxd, my name, Trevor Matson, all of the things. So yeah.
And Dan, where can people find you online?
I am a film critic in Orlando, Florida. I write for two websites, FromTheFourthRow.com and DisappointmentMedia.com. Also, I'll be back Monday with Malcolm on Gone with the Wind. We're going to do our reactions of this. Hopefully there won't be too many crazy things happening. Also, I've been on Picture This with our friends Dylan and Chad, where we run down the Academy Awards, and we have some revisionist history. And we're doing all 3 years of the Godfather years. So we did 72, 74, and in April we're doing 1990.
Such a good year. Such a good year.
Yes, yeah, it was such a great year. You're absolutely right, Trevor. And so those are the places that you can find me, or my name, Dan Skip Allen, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Letterboxd, or a variation of From the Fourth Row or DP Skip Allen or something like that on those places.
Yeah, you can find me on Tape for Productions. We host Rankin every Sunday night. We're going to be a little bit earlier than usual. We're going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, and we're going to be ranking the Rocky/Creed franchise. And then I'll be on Gone for the Win on Monday, as already been said. And also, if you haven't voted already, vote for the Gone for the Win Awards, because the week after the Oscars, so not this Monday, but the week after, is when we're going to announce the winners of those. So I'll be posting the link in the Take Free Facebook page once, and on Twitter again, just to get it back out there, just so anyone who may not have seen it the first time around can pick up on it. And yeah, and I think that's everything. But that's end of us today. And until next time, see you at the movies. As I find.